I sometimes wonder whether you think I exaggerate the polarity of this discussion. You probably don't, but here's a rather startling illustration of it. Two texts arrived both at 10:32. Okay, the first one, you're right, James. Lammy has picked a side: Israel, genocide, ethnic cleansing, mass displacement, collective punishment, torture, you name it. He's on that side. And at 10:32, another text come in saying Starmer and Lammy have just have just declared that they are anti-Jewish. So that's a response to the same policy. One contending that it renders the British government anti-Jewish, and one contending that it sees the British government line up in lockstep with the Israeli regime, which my texter accuses of all of the things that I just read out. So what do you think about the decision? And remember, it's based upon a review called by David Lammy as soon as he arrived in the Foreign Office. And the advice he has received is that there are 30 arms licenses in place which carry an untenable possibility of facilitating breaches, serious breaches of international law. So I mean, one way you could break this down, you're either in favour of international law or you don't think it should apply to Israel. Holly's in Wimbledon. Holly, what would you like to say?
Hi, James. Good morning. I think that the UK's decision to suspend a very, very small portion of the licences to Israel is largely a political statement. I think it's virtue signalling. Do I agree with it? No, I do not. But do I think it's going to make
why don't you agree? I mean,
because the UK
international law is the fulcrum upon which this opinion has to be formed, isn't it? So why shouldn't the UK government seek to insist that Israel follows international law?
Firstly, Lammy has said quite clearly that the decision yesterday is not based on any findings that Israel has committed any breaches of international law. In fact,
no, it's not. That's not true. It's particularly with reference to the.
In fact,
well, you can't talk over me when you've made
James,
sweeping statements.
You must allow me.
You can't say things that aren't true.
Well, Israel has taken extraordinary lengths to uphold international law.
No, but you just said David Lammy hadn't identified areas in which it might have been broken, and he has.
That's not what I said at all. He said that it wasn't the correct forum in order to judge.
Okay, so the areas in which these concerns are most acute would include the ability of aid to get into the Gaza Strip and the treatment of detainees. So the equipment,
James,
the licenses that have been... No, the license. It's important that my listeners know the facts before we hear more rhetoric. The licenses that have been lifted, in the opinion of the Foreign Office advisors, would be for equipment likely to facilitate abuses of aid's ingress into the Gaza Strip or to facilitate abuses of detainees. So those are some of the areas upon which David Lammy is basing his decision, just for clarity.
James, you refer to facts, and I'm also going to refer to facts. In the last week, Israel has provided the polio vaccines for 2.5 million people in Gaza. Now,
why is polio back? Why is polio back in Gaza?
It's back because of the humanitarian crisis there, but that's not.
What's caused the humanitarian crisis?
Can you please let me finish? You owe a duty to your listeners to also allow me to finish.
You're going to be able to finish, but what's caused the humanitarian crisis in Gaza?
The current conflicts. Now, why are we focusing only on Israel in this conflict? Why are we? Hamas.
That's a surreal question. Every conversation. No, but you can't. Of course, you're going to be able to finish, Holly. But we're not focusing only upon the actions of Israel. How many times this morning have you heard me mention the atrocity of October the 7th and the 1,200 dead Israelis?
Mention it. Well, actually, I'm.
Remember, everyone else has been listening as well.
Well, absolutely, but
you just said I haven't mentioned it. You just said I haven't mentioned it. That's a lie.
Words in my mouth now,
you said, why are we focusing exclusively on the actions of Israel? This is so pointless.
No. Well, no, let me finish my sentence.
Stop saying things that aren't true.
Like what?
Like that we're not mentioning the actions of Hamas, or we're focusing exclusively on Israel, or that David Lammy hasn't cited areas in which international law might be broken. Go on then, you carry on.
Allow me to discuss also the other fraction that is part of the contribution to what is happening in Gaza. What do we think Hamas are? Some sort of yoga retreat organisation?
Very funny.
They're certainly not.
Yes.
How does this prevent?
What do we think the IDF is? A holiday camp?
Well, no, absolutely not. But shouldn't we be pledging some support for the IDF who have?
Sorry, 350 arms licenses currently in place, of which 320 remain, and you don't think we're showing support for the Israeli Defence Force?
I absolutely do, but...
So why did you just ask why we aren't?
Because you quote 40,000 dead Palestinians. Now,
why are you jumping around so much when everything you say, I'm paying you the respect of addressing directly?
I don't think you are. You're
okay, so let's go back to the question of why don't we show support for the IDF? Could you explain to my listeners how 350 arms licenses, of which 320 remain, somehow constitutes an absence of support, in your own words and in your own time?
That's absolutely not what I said.
Everybody heard you say it.
Okay, well, everyone can replay what this discussion...
What would you like to jump randomly to next, Holly?
I'm not jumping randomly to anything, but you're the one that keeps cutting across my statements, meaning that
I keep repeating them back to you, and you keep denying that you've said it.
Absolutely not. 40,000 Palestinians are dead, you said. How many of those do we think are Hamas combat?
So we're jumping there now. So the question of do we approve or disapprove of what David Lammy has done, you've now opened up 6 different conversational gambits and refused to justify any of them.
Okay, so should we go back to what I think about David Lammy's decision yesterday? Yes. Okay, I disagree with it.
Why?
Why? Because we should be pledging unwavering support to a country, an ally that is combating...
What do we mean by unwavering?
To combating terrorism.
What do we mean by unwavering?
Combating terrorism. There are how many hostages in tunnels in Gaza?
You've done it again. What do we mean by unwavering?
Unwavering, meaning that we should be supporting Israel.
So is there anything Israel could do? Is there anything Israel could do which the UK government should disapprove of?
But why is the Israel...
It's a simple question. Everyone's heard me ask it. Everyone can hear you not answer it.
But well, that's a disingenuous question.
No, you use the word unwavering. These rhetorical tactics don't work with me because I'm listening to everything you say. So this gilly-gashing and jumping all over the place. Tell me what unwavering means.
Unwavering?
Yes.
Support.
Yes, what does it mean?
Why review the licenses?
What does unwavering mean? Why review the licenses? Because they involve equipment that could be used to breach international law. Next question. What does unwavering mean?
Could be.
What does unwavering mean?
Unwavering means complete support.
So there is absolutely no circumstance in which the UK government should reject or oppose Israel's behaviour in Gaza?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Why did it take so long to get there? So how many deaths is too many deaths?
I said that in the beginning.
How many deaths? No, you didn't. Everybody heard what you said in the beginning. You said in the beginning there were no grounds for David Lammy doing what he'd done. Now, final question. Final question. Final question. Final question. How many deaths is too many?
There have already been too many deaths on both sides.
But we have to have unwavering support for more deaths.
But what this... Well, how is this prevention?
Can't answer a question with a question. Unwavering support for more deaths, but there have been too many deaths. Talk me through that. Talk me through the logic of that.
How do we release the hostages? How do we stop?
By agreeing a ceasefire.
And how do we agree a ceasefire?
By getting rid of Benjamin Netanyahu and letting people who want a ceasefire get into power in Israel.
Oh, and what about?
But let me take you back to the question of how many deaths is too many. At what point, Holly, at what point, I'm sorry this isn't going as well as you expected, but you need finally, Holly, to answer the question. Answer the question, how many deaths, all the hostages should be released immediately. Tell me finally, how many deaths, Holly? How many deaths? I've said that since October the 7th. How many deaths?
Never.
Well, we've established that there's something wrong with your ears, but how? We've established that your ears don't operate in ways that most people recognise. Final question, at what point will you say, at what point, you can't keep doing it.
I have the conversation. I will keep doing it, because you owe a duty to your listeners.
You can't do it, can you?
There are 40,000...
You can't say, I don't care how many die.
I don't want to say that.
I know you don't.
Put words in my mouth, because that's not how I feel.
So tell me how many then.
That's not how I feel.
How many is too many?
I'm not going to put a number on it, because there isn't a number.
Because you can't say it, can you? You won't say it.
What should I be saying? What would you like me to say, Jane?
The truth.
Which is what?
How many deaths would be too many for you personally?
For me, none. None.
So you want it to stop now?
I would love it.
So we should take weapons away from Israel. So you're in favour of the suspension of arms licenses?
No. no. We shouldn't take weapons away from Israel.
So the killing will continue,
exists.
and the support will be
Hamas
unwavering,
exists.
and tens of thousands more people will die.
James, Hamas exists. Do you understand that?
What's a silly question?
Exists. Hamas exists.
Is this what you're reduced to now,
you
shouting
not
Hamas
talking?
exists at me?
Well, why are you not talking
1
about
million
Hamas's
deaths?
capabilities?
1 million deaths?
Why are you not talking
2
about
million
Hamas's
deaths?
capabilities?
We're talking
Are you not
about the
going to talk
suspension
about
of
Hamas?
arms licenses to Israel. I spent 20 minutes explaining it this morning, but let's not go back to the state of your ears. Let's conclude with the question of 1 million. Is that too many, or would you still be calling for unwavering support?
James, why are you repeating the same question over and over?
Because you haven't answered it.
I did. I said
So
no
1 million dead, and you'd still
said
say
no
unwavering
deaths.
support.
I said no death. I said no death.
1 million
What you are
dead, would you
missing
still
from
call
this
for
game
unwavering
is
support?
Hamas.
Okay.
Why are you not talking about Hamas?
What do you think we are
Why
talking
don't-
about?
do
We're
you
talking
not
about the
understand
suspension
why
of
Israel
arms
needs
licenses
have
to
unwavering
Israel.
support? Because they are dealing with genocide
Holly.
or maniacs.
This is what
who keep
happens.
people in
This is what
tunnels
happens when you're not
for 10
allowed
months.
to
There is
ride
a
roughshod over reality.
5-year-old child.
You can
in
keep
Gaza.
doing this. You can keep doing this, but everybody listening, everybody listening can hear you.
Talking about that. That is
Because
exactly
we're talking
why
about the
there should
latest
be.
development in the
Why?
story, and you
but
can't
you
deal
are-
with it
but
because you
you're
have
failing to
unwavering support
understand.
for the killings
Yes.
in Israel, for the killings in Gaza, whether it's 40,000, 400,000, 1 million, or 2 million, and that
That's
is
not
what you
I
mean
said,
by
is it?
unwavering.
Because you won't listen to me.
I
You
couldn't
won't
really
let
have.
me
I
finish.
couldn't have listened any harder. I think you're the
Because
one
you
that
keep
needs.
cutting in.
You're the
You
one that
keep
needs to
cutting
start
in.
listening to me, and then you'd realise that I've heard everything you've said, and I've paid you the compliment of responding to it, and you have struggled to cope.